his own style. I remember whenever we used to get some water, he used to always want to drink hot water. How many kids want hot water? He always wanted to just I mean, I admired him because he wanted to be different. He wanted to do something different. He didn't want to just go with the pace, go with the group. He wanted to do something different. But I'm happy to have him here back in my life. I mean, I've had so many dreams about him and dreams about him, having problems and and his incarceration. And I'm just so happy that he's safe and he came out in one piece. I mean, there's so many people in this world that don't make it almost 20 years out here, less than on in there. So it's really, really, in my opinion, it's a hell of an accomplishment. I'm just happy just to have him here. And what we're gonna do today is we're gonna talk about his experience because a lot of kids nowadays they're taking the wrong path and making mistakes and doing some of the things that they shouldn't be doing, and they wind up incarcerated. So hopefully, in talking to him, we could help some young people try to avoid the mistakes that he made and help them to realize that that's just not a life that a person wants to live. So without any further ado, here's Mr. Herron Lewiel. First of all, Herron, you want to tell us how long were you incarcerated?
Well, I haven't been on the streets, for a year ever since the ripe year of 1978. My first sentence, I served a year and a half in St. Charles. The second sentence, I served 2.5 years in Pontiac Correctional Center. And my last sentence, my third sentence, I just served 17 and a half years straight.
Okay, I have a question for you now. First, you were in a juvenile detention center.
Exactly.
Can you tell me how does that vary, a juvenile detention center from, let's say, penitentiary?
Well, the juvenile detention center is for younger youth, younger troubled youth, to correct their behavior. Um, you're pretty much on your own in those places. Um, Imagine a gutter lifestyle where there's no rules and there's no real form of protection outside the protection that you have established for yourself. A lot of times through bonding with others, let's say with reputations, and if you don't manage to bond with others with reputations, then you have to build one on your own. What they did enforce at that time, back in the 70s, was one, that we went to school. And so, because of the old adage and philosophy that education breeds empowerment through being forced to go to school, I personally obtained the power to make more conscious decisions, more conscious efforts to succeed in my life upon release. The shock, however, much to my dismay, was that upon release in the year 1979, me being a free-hearted person, me being a person that always wanted to help the downtrodden, as I grew, I wanted to see them develop as well. The shock was realizing those I was seeking to help did not want to go where I was trying to take them. Like crabs in a barrel, they wind up pulling me down as a result. But I do not blame them because in life, we have to always deal with the consequences of whatever choices we individually make ourselves. Um, the shock for me was in the year 1979, uh, a lot of different things that I had been reaching for, not being able to accomplish them at a fast enough pace, being excited by danger, being excited by the gangster lifestyle, um, being excited by the inability of thinking before acting, but taking without any measure or thought of repercussion. Me becoming so self-centered that I lost focus of those I loved, those that loved me, and began focusing primarily on myself, not caring for myself as I thought at that time.
Okay, like you were saying.
Not caring for myself as I thought at that time because of the myriad of confusions that I had been experiencing coming from one world and then entering another. Inevitably, I got caught back up in the system and went to prison again, this time on a much higher level.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think that your environment had anything to do with your ultimate return to prison?
Absolutely. Um, there's an old saying that I cling on to, and that is we individually make our society, and our society or environment do not make us. Well, I learned that the hard way. I learned that many years ago when I was serving an extremely long sentence, but yet at a young age, being wild and things like that, I did not know that. And so, yes, I became a product of my environment. I became a product of the movies, the gangster stories. I became a product of all of those different things. I was excited about it. I was drawn to it like a magnet. And I had all of the opportunities in the world to be a legitimate success, but that didn't entice me. It was too square for me, and I just wanted to do something, like you say, different. I wanted to do it my way. And being self centered the way I was, the reason why I say I did not love myself the way I thought I loved myself is because the only thing I was concerned about was how much money I was making on a daily basis. My philosophy was when I die, bury me deep with a wad of money aimed at my feet. That was my philosophy. And so it was like I didn't care if I didn't live from this moment to the next. What I did care about is having enough money in my pocket, being able to dress, being able to finesse, being able to have my style properly balanced, being able to look in the mirror, pat myself on the back, and wink and say to myself, I look good. I'm ready to approach the day. But I didn't know what the day had in store for me.
I have a question for you. And feeling like that, what do you think that came from?
Well, like I say, it comes from the neurosis of a sick environment. You just get trapped up in the madness of it all. Um, shooting at people, fighting for territory that don't belong to you, warring with different organizations because of ideological differences, because they say that they are one thing and you are another, because you have a whole lot of guns and you don't really know what to do with them. And so you don't go to an open field that's not available to you in the ghetto community and shoot cans. Instead, you practice your weaponry on human beings because of ideological differences. And so what happens is, as I have indicated, you get caught up in the maze of that kind of sickness, and you don't realize how sick you are becoming yourself. You think that you are healthy. And when you do realize that slowly by degrees, your own community tore you to shreds, you want to ball up in a knot and cry, but you better be strong and hold on and just keep on moving and live with what you got and do the best you possibly can with what's in the grips of your hand.
Okay, that's great. Tell me a little bit about what did you think about school back then and education, and how important was that to you?
Well, the thing with me is that although I was involved in an extreme illicit lifestyle, education always fascinated me. And so during that time, I went to like two schools. I went to one school called Jackson. I went to one school called Industrial Skill Trade Center because along with education, what also sparked my interest was always trades, the ability of what I was able to do for me, you know, not going to school and learning how to get a degree so that upon graduation I can take it to some agency and say, okay, sir, I qualify to work for you. But instead, developing trades and skills so that I would always be able to. we had the old philosophy of how is it possible and who gave them the power to run our everyday lives. And so since we seen that if it's 1,000 of us, but then you have 200 gods, excuse me, then we are the ones that ultimately are giving them the power over our lives on a daily basis. We decided to take that power in our own hands and say, okay, yes, we're shackled down, no doubt about that. We're locked down. You have us in these cages. There's no doubt about that neither. But we're not going to allow you to come in here with your attitudes. We're not going to allow you to come in here with your prejudices and treat us any kind of way. You're going to treat us with respect. You're going to treat us as human beings just as we treat you with respect, just as we treat you as a human being. That was power negotiating with power. And so we did not run that world, because had we ran that world, we would have ran out of that world. You see, so we never did run that world. We ran it in an isolated sense because of power negotiating with power. Today, that power have totally transformed itself because it's no longer two-sided. It's one-sided now. The cons, the inmates, and I must emphasize the difference. It's a difference between a convict and it's a difference between an inmate.
What's the difference? I'm really curious. I'd like to know the answer to that because I really don't know. I thought a con and a inmate were both the same.
Well, let me say it like this. I'm proud of a convict and extremely ashamed of an inmate and a resident. An inmate and a resident is a person with no backbone. They like a jellyfish. They go for anything. They let you talk to them any kind of way. An inmate and a resident is the kind of person that will bash your brains in if you say anything negative to them. But you let a guard come along. You let somebody come along in a green uniform and talk about their mama like a dog. And what they gonna do? Laugh it off with a hee-haw smile. A convict, the police know to stay the hell out of his way. Me, I look at them like they crawled out of a sewer just for speaking to me. The reason why. In life, we have to identify our enemies. We have to know who's good for us and who's not good for us. The oppressor is not good for us. Now, don't get me wrong. You have officers, you have guards, you have police, some that are good. We have to realize they have to feed their children too. Therefore, they have to have a job. They might want to be there, they may not want to be there. So you have to always be able to decipher for yourself. Is this person all right? And even if he's all right, he's just all right for you to speak to, but he ain't all right for you to kick it with. There's no buddy playing here. Because ultimately, you know what side of the fence I'm on, and it's my duty to let you know what side of the fence you're on. If it go down, buddy, you in trouble. And that's the position of a convict. A convict is that hardcore person, and he won't bend, he won't buckle under no circumstances. What do the prisons do? The aim of the prisons is to come at your spirits, your morale, your psychology, to break you down to your lowest terms so that you no longer know what control of who you are consists of. When you no longer know what control of who you are consists of, somebody else control you.